When we begin our morning with faith and gratitude, we are not just following a religious routine. We are making a powerful decision about how our day will unfold. In Psalm 41, we are reminded that God blesses those who consider others and that He sustains, protects, and strengthens those who trust in Him. This is not just an ancient scripture written thousands of years ago. It is a living message that speaks directly into our modern lives. Every morning presents a new opportunity. Some mornings we wake up feeling strong and hopeful. Other mornings we wake up tired, discouraged, or burdened by problems we carried from yesterday. But the beauty of morning prayer is that it resets our hearts and minds. It allows us to surrender fear before it controls us. It invites peace before stress can dominate us. It reminds us that we do not walk into the day alone. Starting the day with prayer is like setting the foundation of a building. If the foundation is weak, everything built on top of it becomes unstable. But when the foundation is strong, the structure can withstand storms, pressure, and shaking. In the same way, when we ground ourselves in faith first thing in the morning, we become spiritually steady. Challenges may still come. Difficult conversations may still happen. Unexpected disappointments may still arise. Yet instead of reacting with panic, we respond with confidence, because we have already placed our trust in God. Morning gratitude shifts our focus from what is missing to what is present. Instead of thinking about what we lack, we begin to notice what we have: breath in our lungs, another chance to grow, another opportunity to love, another moment to improve ourselves. Gratitude has power. It changes our perspective. It softens our hearts. When we thank God in the morning, even before we see results, we are declaring that we trust Him. That trust becomes strength. Many people think strength comes from physical ability, financial success, or social recognition. But true strength begins internally. It is the quiet confidence that no matter what happens today, God is with us. Psalm 41 reminds us that God sustains us on our sickbed and restores us from weakness. This is deeply comforting because it acknowledges that we will experience moments of vulnerability. There will be days when our bodies feel weak, when our minds feel overwhelmed, or when our emotions feel heavy. Morning prayer does not deny these realities. It gives us the courage to face them. When we pray in the morning, we also align our priorities. Instead of rushing into comparison, competition, and chaos, we pause. That pause is powerful. In that quiet moment, we remember our purpose. We remember our values. We remember that kindness matters. Psalm 41 highlights the blessing that comes to those who consider the poor. This teaches us that our mornings should not only be about asking for help, but also about preparing our hearts to help others. Imagine starting every day asking God to make you a blessing. That mindset transforms ordinary interactions into meaningful moments. It changes how you speak to your family, how you treat your coworkers, how you approach strangers. Education may sharpen your intellect, but prayer sharpens your character. And character is what sustains long-term success. There is also something deeply healing about consistent morning prayer. Healing does not always happen instantly. Sometimes it is gradual. Sometimes it begins with peace before it shows up physically. When we bring our pain to God early in the day, we prevent it from silently growing throughout the day. Unspoken stress can become anxiety. Hidden hurt can become bitterness. But prayer releases what we are carrying. It is an act of emotional honesty. It says, God, I need you today. That humility is not weakness. It is wisdom. The strongest people are not those who pretend they have no struggles. They are those who acknowledge their need for divine strength. Morning prayer also builds discipline. Waking up a little earlier to spend time with God requires intention. But discipline in one area of life often strengthens other areas. When you consistently choose prayer over distraction, you train your mind to focus. You learn to delay immediate gratification for deeper fulfillment. That habit spills over into your studies, your work, and your relationships. A person who can control their morning can often control their day, and a person who can control their day can shape their future. Furthermore, beginning the day with faith guards your mindset. Negative thoughts often attack early. Worries about bills, responsibilities, expectations, or health can creep in as soon as we open our eyes. But when the first words out of our mouth are words of faith instead of fear, we set a spiritual boundary. We declare that fear will not lead us. We declare that doubt will not define us. We declare that God's promises are greater than our problems. That declaration may not instantly change circumstances, but it changes our posture toward them. And posture matters. A person who stands in faith walks differently than a person who walks in fear. Finally, morning gratitude creates joy. Not superficial happiness that depends on perfect conditions, but deep joy rooted in assurance. When we remember that God watches over us, sustains us, and strengthens us, we carry hope into every meeting, every classroom, every hospital room, every challenge. Hope is contagious. When others see your calmness in chaos, your patience in pressure, your kindness in conflict, they will wonder what gives you that stability. And the answer will be simple: you started your day with God. So never underestimate the power of a morning prayer inspired by Psalm 41. It is more than words spoken at dawn. It is a daily decision to live with faith, gratitude, compassion, and strength. It is the quiet foundation that supports a powerful life. And when you consistently begin your mornings this way, you will discover that healing flows more freely, courage rises more quickly, and strength lasts much longer than you ever imagined. Compassion is one of the most powerful qualities a person can develop, and it carries both spiritual and practical rewards. In Psalm 41, we are reminded that blessed is the one who considers the poor. The Lord delivers them in times of trouble. This message is not only about financial poverty. It speaks to anyone who is weak, discouraged, sick, overlooked, or burdened. Every day, we encounter people who are fighting silent battles. Some are struggling emotionally, hiding depression behind a smile. Some are battling illness quietly. Others are facing financial stress, family conflict, or personal failure. Compassion means choosing to see them, to acknowledge their humanity, and to respond with kindness instead of indifference. It is easy to focus on our own needs and ambitions. It is easy to chase personal success without pausing to lift someone else. But Psalm 41 teaches us that when we extend mercy, we position ourselves for divine mercy. When we become a source of comfort, we create an atmosphere where blessings flow naturally into our own lives. Compassion strengthens communities. In education, knowledge shapes the mind, but compassion shapes the culture. A classroom filled with intelligent students, but lacking kindness, becomes competitive and cold. A workplace full of talented individuals, but lacking empathy, becomes toxic. However, when compassion becomes the foundation, environments transform. Students encourage one another instead of mocking mistakes. Leaders guide instead of dominate. Friends support instead of gossip. Compassion builds trust, and trust builds unity. Unity creates strength. There is also a deeper spiritual principle at work. When you show kindness during someone else's hardship, you are planting seeds. You may not see the harvest immediately, but in your own season of difficulty, those seeds return as support, protection, and unexpected favor. Life has a way of reflecting back what we consistently give. Choosing compassion does not mean ignoring wisdom. It does not mean allowing yourself to be mistreated or manipulated. Instead, it means leading with love while standing in truth. It means remembering that people's actions often flow from their pain. When someone reacts harshly, compassion asks, what might they be going through? That simple shift in perspective can prevent anger from escalating. It can turn potential conflict into understanding. And when we consistently live this way, we develop emotional maturity. We become less reactive and more reflective. Compassion refines our character. It teaches patience. It teaches humility. It reminds us that we, too, have needed grace at different moments in our lives. When we give what we once needed, we grow stronger internally. And as Psalm 41 promises, those who consider others are sustained. Their kindness does not weaken them, it fortifies them. At the same time, Psalm 41 carries another powerful message: God is our strength in weakness. Life guarantees moments of vulnerability. There will be seasons when we are the ones in need of compassion. There will be mornings when our energy is low, when illness affects our bodies, or when discouragement weighs heavily on our minds. The psalm acknowledges this reality by speaking of God sustaining a person on their sickbed and restoring them from weakness. That image is deeply comforting because it tells us that weakness is not shameful. It is human. In a world that glorifies constant productivity and outward strength, admitting weakness can feel uncomfortable. Yet true strength is not pretending to have everything together. True strength is recognizing when you need help and turning to God with honesty. When we accept that God is our source of strength, we stop depending solely on our limited abilities. Human strength has limits. Physical stamina fades. Emotional resilience fluctuates. Mental focus can be strained. But divine strength renews itself daily. When you pray in the morning and acknowledge your need for God, you are not admitting defeat, you are accessing power. You are saying, I cannot do. Education builds the mind, but prayer builds the character. And when the two come together, they create a person who is not only intelligent but wise. Wisdom is different from knowledge. Knowledge gathers information. Wisdom applies it with understanding and integrity. A person may earn degrees, master skills, and achieve recognition. But without a grounded spirit, success can become fragile. Prayer gives stability to everything education provides. In Psalm 41, we see a reminder that God sustains, protects, and strengthens those who trust Him. That trust becomes the anchor that keeps us steady while we pursue growth and achievement. Education trains us to think critically, to solve problems, and to compete in a complex world. Prayer trains us to remain humble, to act with compassion, and to remember that our abilities are gifts, not just personal accomplishments. In today's world, education is often seen as the primary path to success. Students are encouraged to aim higher, work harder, and outperform their peers. While ambition is valuable, it can become overwhelming if it is not balanced with spiritual grounding. The pressure to achieve can lead to stress, comparison, and fear of failure. Prayer shifts the focus from performance to purpose. It reminds us that our worth is not defined solely by grades, titles, or income. When we begin the day in prayer, we realign our motivation. Instead of striving only for applause, we strive for impact. Instead of chasing recognition, we pursue excellence with integrity. This balance prevents pride when we succeed and despair when we fall short. Prayer also strengthens decision-making. Education presents information, but life requires discernment. Not every opportunity is beneficial. Not every open door is meant to be entered. Through prayer, we develop sensitivity to guidance. We learn to pause before reacting. We gain clarity before committing. A strong mind can analyze options, but a strong spirit can sense direction. When both operate together, choices become wiser and more intentional. The combination of intellectual growth and spiritual awareness creates resilience. Challenges become lessons instead of defeats. Mistakes become stepping stones instead of permanent labels. Moreover, prayer nurtures inner peace in competitive environments. Classrooms, workplaces, and professional fields can be intense. There is constant comparison. Who scored higher, who received the promotion, who gained more recognition. Without spiritual grounding, comparison can steal joy and damage confidence. Prayer reminds us that our journey is unique. It helps us celebrate others without feeling threatened. It teaches gratitude for progress rather than obsession with perfection. When we trust that God has a plan for our path, we can focus on growth instead of rivalry. That confidence creates calmness, and calmness strengthens performance. Education shapes external success, but prayer shapes internal stability. External success can fluctuate. Economic conditions change. Industries evolve. Positions shift. However, internal stability rooted in faith remains steady. Psalm 41 reflects a confidence that even in weakness or adversity, God sustains his people. That assurance allows us to face uncertainty without panic. It builds endurance. It teaches patience during long seasons of study or preparation. It gives hope when results are delayed. Prayer transforms waiting into preparation rather than frustration. Trusting God during betrayal and hard times is another powerful lesson drawn from Psalm 41. The psalm speaks of close relationships turning painful, of betrayal from someone trusted. This reality is deeply relatable. In life, betrayal can come from friends, colleagues, or even family members. It can wound deeply because it breaks trust. Education may teach conflict resolution strategies, but prayer heals emotional wounds at a deeper level. When betrayal happens, the natural response may be anger, revenge, or withdrawal. However, prayer allows us to process pain without being consumed by it. It invites God into the hurt. It replaces bitterness with strength. Betrayal often tests identity. When someone disappoints us, we may question our judgment or worth. We may replay events repeatedly in our minds. But trusting God during those moments anchors us. It reminds us that human actions do not override divine purpose. People may fail us, but God remains faithful. That truth restores confidence. Instead of allowing betrayal to harden our hearts, we can allow it to refine our discernment. We learn to set healthier boundaries. We grow wiser in relationships. We become stronger emotionally. Hard experiences, when surrendered to God, become teachers instead of traps. Trust also removes the burden of revenge. Carrying anger drains energy. It distracts from growth. Prayer shifts responsibility to God. It frees us to move forward instead of remaining stuck in resentment. This freedom is empowering. It protects mental health. It preserves peace. When we trust that God sees injustice and responds in his timing, we release the need to control outcomes. That release creates room for healing. It opens the heart again, cautiously but courageously. Furthermore, trusting God during hardship builds endurance. Every challenge faced with faith strengthens spiritual muscles. Just as physical training increases strength through resistance, spiritual growth increases through trials. Psalm 41 demonstrates confidence that even amid opposition and illness, God upholds and restores. This assurance transforms perspective. Problems are no longer signs of abandonment, but opportunities for deeper reliance. Faith grows stronger when tested. Character deepens when refined by adversity. Combining education with prayer and trust during hardship creates a well-rounded individual. Such a person thinks clearly, acts compassionately, and stands firmly in difficulty. They pursue excellence without arrogance. They endure setbacks without collapse. They forgive without forgetting wisdom. They grow without losing humility. This balance produces leadership qualities that inspire others. People are drawn to those who are both competent and grounded, intelligent and kind, strong yet humble. When we build our lives this way, mornings become more purposeful. Studies become more meaningful. Relationships become healthier. Even painful seasons contribute to growth. Prayer keeps the heart aligned while education sharpens the mind. Trust keeps the spirit steady when storms arise. Together, these principles create not just success, but significance. They produce not just achievement, but impact. And in every season, whether rising or recovering, we remain sustained by a strength greater than our own. Ending with praise and confidence is a powerful spiritual discipline that transforms not only how we finish our day, but how we live our entire lives. In Psalm 41, the writer does not conclude with complaint, fear, or uncertainty. Instead, the psalm closes with blessing and praise to God. This teaches us something deeply important. No matter what we face, praise is a choice. Life will present challenges. There will be seasons of illness, disappointment, betrayal, and delay. There will be prayers that seem unanswered and efforts that appear unnoticed. Yet the decision to end with praise shifts the atmosphere of our hearts. Praise is not denial of pain, it is declaration of trust. It says, "Despite what I see, I believe God is still working." Confidence grows where praise lives. When we consistently thank God, even before we see the full outcome, we build unshakable faith. Many people base their confidence on visible results. If things are going well, they feel strong. If circumstances decline, their confidence fades. But spiritual confidence is different. It is rooted not in changing situations, but in the unchanging character of God. Psalm 41 reflects this deep assurance. After describing hardship and weakness, it rises into blessing. That transition reveals maturity. It shows that faith has the final word, not fear. Ending with praise also protects the mind. Throughout the day, we collect experiences. Some are encouraging, others are stressful. If we allow negative experiences to dominate our thoughts at night, we carry anxiety into tomorrow. But when we intentionally end the day with gratitude and worship, we cleanse our perspective. We remind ourselves of what went right. We acknowledge protection we may not have noticed. We thank God for strength we did not realize we had. This act renews the mind. It prevents bitterness from settling. It restores hope before rest. Praise is powerful because it shifts focus from problems to possibilities. When we dwell only on difficulties, they appear larger than they are. When we magnify God instead, challenges shrink in comparison. This does not mean obstacles disappear instantly. It means our view changes. A person who praises consistently develops resilience. They become less shaken by temporary setbacks because they see life through the lens of faith. They understand that today's struggle does not cancel tomorrow's promise. Confidence built through praise is quiet but strong. It does not need constant validation from others. It does not collapse under criticism. It stands firm because it draws strength from a higher source. When Psalm 41 ends with blessing, it models this stability. Even after acknowledging enemies and illness, it affirms God's eternal reign. That perspective stretches beyond temporary discomfort. It sees beyond the immediate moment. It trusts in a bigger picture. Ending with praise also cultivates joy. Joy is deeper than happiness. Happiness depends on favorable conditions. Joy flows from assurance. When we praise, we activate joy. We remember past victories. We recall prayers that were answered. We recognize growth that came from former pain. Reflection strengthens gratitude. Gratitude strengthens joy. And joy strengthens endurance. A joyful heart faces tomorrow with courage. Moreover, praise influences our relationships. A grateful person is easier to be around. When we carry a spirit of thanksgiving, we speak differently. We complain less and encourage more. We notice good qualities in others. We express appreciation. This positivity spreads. Families become warmer. Workplaces become lighter. Communities become stronger. Praise does not remain private, it radiates outward. Confidence in God also reduces fear of the unknown. The future often brings uncertainty. Health can change. Finances can shift. Opportunities can close. But when we end each day declaring God's faithfulness, we train ourselves to expect His guidance tomorrow. Fear loses its grip when faith grows stronger. Confidence does not mean we know every detail of the future. It means we trust the one who does. There is also healing in praise. Emotional wounds can linger when rehearsed repeatedly in our minds. But when we turn our attention to gratitude, healing begins. Praise does not ignore pain, it reframes it. It says, "This hurt me, but it will not define me." It declares, "This challenge shaped me, but it did not destroy me." Over time, this mindset strengthens emotional health. It builds optimism rooted in faith rather than fantasy. Ending with praise strengthens spiritual discipline. It requires intentionality. Some nights we may feel too tired or discouraged to express gratitude. Yet choosing praise precisely in those moments deepens faith. It proves that worship is not dependent on mood. It becomes a habit that shapes character. Discipline in praise creates consistency in confidence. Psalm 41 reminds us that God upholds those who trust Him. When we close our day acknowledging His sovereignty, we rest differently. Sleep becomes peaceful instead of restless. The heart feels secure instead of anxious. We surrender unfinished tasks and unresolved issues into God's hands. That surrender releases pressure. It reminds us that we are responsible for effort, but God is responsible for outcome. Living this way transforms mornings as well. When you end the night with praise, you wake up with expectation. Yesterday ended with gratitude. Today begins with hope. Confidence carries over. Faith compounds. Over time, this daily rhythm builds a strong spiritual foundation. Storms may come, but they do not uproot you. Criticism may arise, but it does not crush you. Delays may occur, but they do not discourage you permanently. Praise is powerful because it aligns us with eternity. Circumstances are temporary, but God's faithfulness is constant. When Psalm 41 concludes with blessing, it lifts our eyes above the temporary and fixes them on the eternal. That perspective changes everything. It reminds us that our lives are part of a greater story. It assures us that setbacks are not final chapters. So let praise be your closing statement each day. Let gratitude frame your reflections. Let confidence rise from remembrance of God's goodness. When you end with praise, you end in strength. When you end with thanksgiving, you end in victory. And when you rest in confidence, you prepare yourself to rise again with courage, faith, and unwavering hope.